Alright, y'all. If you saw the previous video about us getting the old push mower back running again and converting it from a self-propelled that doesn't work to a push mower that does, then you know that due to Bidenomics, the economy of retards, I will be cutting my own grass instead of paying the guy to cut it like I have been, because, well, that's just a big bunch of money. So we got to go down here to the other shed. It's what I call my feed shed. It's where I keep all the feed for the goats and also where the lawn mowers live. And you can see why I need to get the dang mowers running, because this is a jungle. Springtime has sprung and it is getting ahead of me. So I've got this Toro Zero Turn. Where was I before I hit the wrong button on the camera? Alright, so I got this Toro Zero Turn, and it's been sitting here dead in the water for a while, and we need to get it moving and running so we can cut grass with it. So it's filthy. It's got a bunch of sawdust all over it from the stupid carpenter bees eating my shed. And when it was parked, the solenoid's bad on it, the starter solenoid, and I've been shorting across it with that old pair of pliers for a while. And the battery's dead now, obviously. And the fuel tank is full of bad gas. So right now what we've got to do first is we'll swap out that solenoid and get that battery out of there. And then we're going to pull this fender off, pull the fuel tank, dump the bad fuel out of it, put the fuel tank back on it with a new fuel filter. Right here is the filter. But basically I don't want to try to start it until I dump the bad fuel out, because I don't want to suck all that bad fuel into the motor and cause even more problems. So if we dump that bad fuel out first and fill it up with good fuel, then she'll probably crank up and run. Then we can move it up to the other shop and change the belt, the blades, change the oil in the motor, probably spray her off with the garden hose and get her ready for spring. So first things first, let's pull this bad battery out of here and change out the solenoid. Get this fuel tank pulled off. So I looked up, and you got like some Torx things you gotta pull off here. And why in the world they use Torx, which I do not like, but they did, and that's what we got. So we'll pull those off. And hopefully that'll get us to the fuel tank. Let's see here. So there's one here, and there's one up here. I've got to pull those off. And then there's one on this outside of the fender. So let's get this. Yeah, we don't want to tighten them. Pull the fuel cap off. All right, so we got the cap off, or that off. And this has just got, yep, on it. Let me see if I can show you what this, there's not much holding this tank on. It's, there's just a couple of little spring clips. You can't really see them there. It's right up inside here. Hey, let me get the camera around here, maybe you'll be able to see. So right up under there, there's a spring clip, right? Yeah, let me pull it off of there and you'll, man, getting dirt everywhere. Anyways, let's pull, there's one there. You see it's just a little clip that holds it on. And there's two of those. There's one up here too. Same thing, a little metal clip. And then you've got your lines. So this one on top is a return vent line, and this one up here is your fuel line. So we're going to pull both of these off. The fuel line right there. Get that off up there. Okay. And then this. Yeah, it's got one too. They just got little spring clips on them, you know. So we'll pull that off. Alright. Gotta get this. Oh man, that gas smells terrible. It didn't have ethanol in it, but it's been sitting a long time and it stinks. Alright, so now that we got all that off of there, we can pull the gas tank up off of here. So I'm gonna go and dump this tank out and grab the new fuel filter. And oh, damn it. Alright. So I'm gonna go empty this fuel tank out and grab the new fuel filter. Just going back in it, and I'll be right back. Alright, so I got the tank empty now, and while I got it off, I'll show you what I was talking about with what what holds the tank onto this. So on the bottom of the tank there are this little tab here. See the little tab right here? That fits down through a slot in that metal bar, and then this thing just sticks through it and holds pressure, holding the tank on. And that's all there is to it. There ain't a whole lot holding this tank onto this machine. But that's the way it is built, so that's the way it is. So you just basically put it on there and stick your little metal tabs back through the slots, and they're kind of spring loaded. They snap into place, and then there's the tank. So now we can remount this vent hose on there. And we need to remove this fuel filter. There's the old fuel filter. Toss it to the side. We got a brand new Kawasaki filter. And I'm assuming that somewhere on here, yep, there's an arrow. See the little arrow? That's fuel flow. So this end goes to the tank and this end goes to the carburetor. That goes up under here. While it's easy to get to. There we go. And then this end goes there. And put the fender back on. Being kind of careful not to dump a bunch of dirt down into the fuel tank. Now that that's over there, I can put the cap back on. I had it off because you had to pull the cap off to get the fender over. Alright. Put these 3 bolts back in. So the fuel tank's cleaned out. Now we got to go get a battery. So I'm going to go get the battery out of the Cherokee and go get some gas. And we'll see if we can get this thing to crank up so we can move it over to the other shop to work on it. We need a new bolt too. That's rusty crusty right there. Alright. So, I will be right back. Alright. We've got a full tank of fresh fuel now. I didn't film that because I don't think you want to watch me dump fuel in the fuel tank. But we'll get this battery stuck down in here. Well, we got the battery in her. Let's see if this thing will fire up and run. I'm going to get this moved up to the other shop and I'll pick you back up there. Alright, so we got her up in the shop now, and you might be wondering why we had so much trouble starting it. And that's because I forgot all about you have to have these handles all the way out or else it cuts off the ignition. So you might have noticed once I moved that hand out, then everything went back to working. So now the new solenoid works. It cranks up and runs just like it's supposed to. So I got the oil draining out. You can see it's pretty nasty looking. It's got a nice little drain valve thing there. And I got to pull that oil filter off and replace it. And I got a new air filter to go on it. So we'll be doing all that. Once I get that done, I'm going to swap the blades out on it and give it a bath. So I'm going to shut the camera off while this oil finishes draining and I get stuff set up to do the other stuff. So I'll bring you back for that. Alright, I think the oil is about done draining out of this thing. So we'll go ahead and cut the valve off. You can see it right down here. It takes a 10 millimeter. So we'll go ahead and close that. And you want to be easy with it because it is plastic. And sooner or later, there we go. Now it's, when it gets close, you just want to snug it. You don't want to, you know, try to break it off or anything. So now that that's closed, we can pull this hose off. And toss it, and we'll get the oil filter off. Let me throw this in here. So the only way I have figured out to change this oil filter is to just go ahead and throw a bunch of rags underneath it and spin it off of there. It seems like no matter what I've done in the past, it always will leak a little bit out, and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot that you can do about it. So I just throw some rags under here like that, try to catch the oil that comes out. Of course it's too tight to turn. Alright, special tool for it. Pull that out. Get your new one wherever you left it. Oh, over here. Hold on. So got us a brand new Kawasaki air filter or oil filter. So get us a little bit of that oil that spilled out. Lube up the old seal there. Spin that baby on there. Make sure when you tighten that up that you don't tighten up one of your rags in between it and the engine block. That will definitely cause you a problem. So once that's on there, we'll go on and tighten it up. You don't need to put a wrench on it. You can do it with your hand. So oil's changed. Now we got to change this air filter, and on here you'll see I've got the little thumb screw thing there for the air filter. So we just loosen that up a little bit and then pop that out of there. That's really not that bad, but I've got a new one to put on it, so I might as well do it. This is a Kawasaki one, so it's got the boot on it like it's supposed to. You just stick it in there, tighten your thumb screw back down on it, just like that. Now I've got spark plugs for this, but I changed them last time that I used it, which granted has been a while ago, but hasn't really run much since then, and it seems to be running fine, so I'm not going to change them. So let me grab the funnel real quick. Oh wow, y'all are looking at the ceiling. That's great. Let me grab the funnel real quick. Throw some oil back in this thing. Alright, I'm going to let that run down in there, and I'm going to check the air in all the tires real quick. You don't really need to see me do all that because that's pretty boring. Once I get done with that, I'll bring you back, show you changing the blades out on this thing, and we'll get it cleaned up and ready to cut grass tomorrow. So I'll be back with that. Okay. So I put air in all the tires and all that good stuff. So now I'm changing out the blades. And you'll have to jack the front of this up, and there's not a lot of good spots to jack it up, and when you do, it just barely gets it off of the ground for a little battery impact to stick in there. So let me show you what I've got here. I'm going to pull this off of the tripod for a minute. So the tool I'm using is this little short DeWalt 1/2-inch drive impact and a 5/8 socket. So if you look right here, you can see the one that I already changed. It's got that bolt in the middle of it. Now these are real easy, but what you got to watch out for is when you put, let me put this right here and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to change this middle one now, and you get your impact on there. And what you want to do is just loosen it, and then hopefully, if nobody has cross-threaded it or screwed it up, you'll be able to spin it out the rest of the way with your fingers. And the reason I'm doing that is because right now, as this thing sits, it is not high enough to clear my impact once the bolt starts coming loose. And it will actually jam the impact against the floor and not be all the way out. Because it's a pretty long bolt. It's a pretty long bolt in this. So you can see right there that that this bolt is not centered, but if you look at the spindle, you'll see it's got a lip there for that. So the blade will fit up on that ring right there snugly, and then the bolt holds it up. So when you go back in there with it, all you got to do is take your new blade and take your bolt, stick it up through your new blade like so, start it on there by hand, which we'll do right now. Now these blades I'm taking off aren't bad. I'll probably sharpen them and put them back in next time. So you get that started and just spin it up by hand until, and it's a long bolt. But you'll know when you get close, then you got to get that blade up, there we go, up on that little part and tighten it up some more. And that'll hold it. Then you just take your impact wrench and snug it down. And that's it. So I got one more to change on the other side, and then we'll let this down off the jack stand and clean it up. So let me get the other side there and I'll be right back. All right, well, I rinsed it off. It's still pretty dirty, but it is what it is. This mower's, I don't know, 10, 15 years old. But it's now running, cranks right up, motor's running good, it's charging. I checked it, it's charging 14 volts at the battery. So now we'll be able to use it again. I was going to change the belt for the deck, but it still looks pretty good, and we'll just hold on to that belt until that one that's on it decides to let go. One thing about this mower I'm not really a fan of is on the whole thing there's only 2 grease fittings, one on each front wheel, which I greased those, but none of the spindles are greasable. I guess you just run them till they die. I don't know, this was given to me years ago, so I'm not complaining, and it's cut a lot of grass for me, so you know, can't complain about something that's give to you. But now we'll be able to cut grass tomorrow. Not looking forward to that, but that's the way it goes nowadays. We'll cut grass, and then we'll get back to doing Cherokee stuff next week, hopefully. We've got gears and everything to put in, and that's going to be our next big project. Putting 488s in the Cherokee and a Detroit locker in the rear. So hopefully this has helped somebody out. Don't put ethanol gas in your mower, which this one didn't have ethanol gas in it. It just had very old gas. I don't put ethanol gas in any of my tractors. But now it's running again, so definitely happy with that. So that's it for this, and we will see you in the next video. I appreciate y'all watching and supporting the channel. Y'all have a good one.